Well, happy Valentine's Day. I thought I'd tell you a special little love story just for Valentine's. I'm not making this up, it's true. A guy by the name of Delwari Singh, who lives in the United Kingdom, had been arrested. You know what his crime was? He had been found grounding up steroid pills and putting them into his wife's food. You want to know why he was doing that? He wanted her to stay home more. This was his theory. She was a sharp lady and an attractive lady. As a result, she went out and got a job and would go walking and became a really sociable person. He wanted her to stay home more and be dependent on him. He thought if he could somehow make her unattractive, she wouldn't want to go out and would want to stay at home all the time. So he ground up the steroids and put them in her dinner. She began to break out in spots and grow facial hair. In addition, she was gaining weight. His little plot was finally uncovered when his teenage daughters heard him grinding a pestle and mortar in the bedroom. The wife then found the hidden steroids in a locked cupboard in the house. Singh was found guilty of the courts of poisoning with intent to injure, aggrieve, or annoy. The judge said, "You may have been doing it to make her give up her job, gain weight, and stay indoors, and make her want you and only rely on you." He went on to say, "It was a well-planned exercise, and you say you gave her the steroids at least 4 or 5 times. It had a terrible effect on her, causing long-term emotional harm." The court stated that he wanted to stop her from going out for walks because he wanted her to be at home to cook for him and look after the children. He said he didn't consider the side effects and he fully intended to stop. The end result is he had to move out of the family home, although he has to still continue paying the bills. He now finds himself living alone with very limited access to his children. He was also made the subject of a restraining order, which bans contact with his estranged wife other than through solicitors or social services. Couldn't help but think of that story on this Valentine's Day of love and romance. But as I read this story in shock and amazement, I wondered if any of us have ever done anything so bizarre or stupid. Probably not, but it does remind me of some principles Jesus taught. The man's purpose was to be selfish and to hoard all of his wife's attention onto himself. Really, all he cared about was himself. He wanted her and he didn't want to share her. Guys, here's the thing. The tighter he held his grip on her, the further away she went from him. Think about it. By trying to keep her all for himself, he lost her completely. Reminds me of what Jesus said in Matthew 6:25. If you try to hang on to your life, you'll lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you'll save it. That's what happened to him. By holding on too tightly, he lost her. We all tend to think the way to get rich is to keep everything we have for ourselves. We think we have to look out for number one, do whatever's best for us. Jesus taught, however, that when we live just for ourselves, we actually lose our life. He said in Matthew 16:25, if you give up your life for my sake, you'll save it. God's truths are always in reverse of what we think. He said the way to get is to give. The way to win is to lose. He said in Luke 6:38, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together, to make more room for more, running over and poured in your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. He also said in Matthew 20, verse 16, so the last will be first and the first will be last. Well, we spend a whole lot of our lives trying to be first and take care of self. Jesus said we got it backwards. We're to give our lives away. That's the way to keep your life. Learn a lesson on this Valentine from the man who will spend his life now in misery and loneliness. If you try to live simply for yourself and only do what is good for you, you'll find yourself lonely and isolated. So give your heart away this Valentine's, and others will give you theirs. Give your time away, and they will give their time to you. Be a friend, and others will become your friend. Instead of only thinking about how things benefit you, consider how they benefit others. Paul said in Philippians 2:3-5, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. Think of others as more important than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Here's a great thought for today. Consider others more important than yourself. Pray this. Say, God, help me to learn not to think selfishly, but to think of other people. God bless you and have a great Valentine.